The following podcast includes profanity, sexual references, crude innuendos, possible nudity, and much more, and may be considered offensive to those with small children, chihuahuas, an alleged photograph of Bigfoot, issues with the excessive use of the word fuck, and anyone who does not like New York City. Consider yourself informed that the duration of this podcast may cause you to experience an overwhelming sensation of butthurt.
One, two, three into the four. Snoop Doggy Dogg and Dr. Dre is at the door.
This is Not Another Atheist Podcast, Episode 3, the episode that almost wasn't. I'm your host, Keith.
I'm Jenn.
Okay, so in store for tonight, we have a correction, an interesting little news story, which will obviously snowball into a longer discussion, and then we have a discussion question followed by a closing with something hilarious that Jen's mom has said.
Another installment of shit Jen's mom says.
I think it's the first installment.
No, didn't we do one on the first one? I could have sworn.
No, I quoted the Kanye one and you yelled at me.
Yeah, and I yelled at you. So, okay, that's
Yeah.
going to be a segment, shit Jen's mom says.
Okay, so corrections. Last time, I made the mistake of accusing Will Smith of being a Scientologist. However, something about saying that didn't sit right with me because I wasn't totally confident in saying that. So I vetted myself. I thought it would be the best thing to do for integrity's sake. So, Will Smith is in fact not a Scientologist. He is, I believe, a buddy of Tom Cruise, it looks like. Anyways, the reporting that I found that pointed him out as a Scientologist essentially revolves around the notion that traditionally what's called rap presents are given to crew members by the big name celebrities upon the completion of a film. And in after the movie Hancock, his rap present to the crew was a card good for a personality test at the local Scientology center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Run away!
Yeah.
Going clear!
But here's the kicker, is that these quizzes are all designed by the Scientology Center to basically point out personality flaws that can be fixed only by Scientology. Naturally, you have to buy in order to get this cure for whatever they think ails you. So now that I think I've corrected myself on that, I think we can move on.
I told you he wasn't a Scientologist.
Yes, you. And when you get the soundbite software, you can pull that little half-second clip of me saying and you can record it, and you can play it and hear it anytime you
I'm
want.
going to play it every day for the rest of your life. Every time as soon as you get up in the morning. You're right.
Great. Friendship. All right.
It's friendship, people.
Okay, so I think that now we got that out of the way. Jen, you sent me a story, so I'll let you introduce it and kind of discuss it.
Okay, I've had a rough week here, so if I'm jumbled and kind of half-storing shit, I'm sorry. There was a shooting of an unarmed man, again, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I believe this time. It was a literal geriatric, he was 72 years old, geriatric, volunteer deputy who was allowed to be armed and said that he was going for his stun gun, but instead shot the guy in the back.
See, now my question
while
is...
he was running away.
my only question is did he think that he maybe was reaching for his stun gun, but in a temporary lapse of dementia forgot where his stun gun was?
That could very well be it, but stun guns are usually kept separate from where the gun was. My question is, this guy was not a member of the police force. He was a volunteer deputy. Like, we're talking Andy Griffith fucking OP over here, people. He was a volunteer deputy that put money into the police department, and they allowed him to run around with a gun and, like, go fight crime like a fucking, like, Mayberry. And it's like, no. That's my issue, is why the fuck was this guy at 72, who was not properly trained, be allowed to carry a weapon and go running down and busting people? On top of, the whole, obviously the cop was black, the victim was black, the cop was white. We have a huge issue with cops killing black guys lately. Well, not lately, it's kind of always happened, but now it's coming too. It's coming more to light. So the question is, when the fuck are cops going to stop killing unarmed civilians?
See,
When?
you can focus on that question, but I do have a couple of questions about the Jurassic cop.
Shoot.
Well, here's one thing. Does he get bathroom breaks? The only reasonable answer I have to that is, well, it depends.
On.
I'm going to give you a second to stop and think about the focus of the word depends.
Oh. I'm actually speechless, ladies and gentlemen. Like, I don't, and that's hard to do.
And to follow up with that, I mean, are his pills in a holster as well? And maybe he was reaching for that because he was worried he'd have a heart attack?
You're gonna have every fucking senior citizen in 2 countries fucking hating you right now.
Well, it's just a question. I mean,
You just motherfucker.
did he have like a tennis ball on the end of his cane? Was he gonna like start swinging that around?
Oh my god, you're a fucking wow, ladies and gentlemen, here is the absolute cocky dickness of Keith that I have come to love so affectionately.
No, it's not even so much that. It's more of just me being irreverent about this situation. Let's face it. I mean, there's no reason for somebody who should have been retired years ago to be wandering around with a loaded firearm. You know, let that person loose on the masses. That's just asking for trouble. I mean, they are one teenager on their lawn away from a shooting that makes headlines across the country.
Literally. Literally.
Although,
Because he wants to play fucking Andy Griffith. Like, hi, I'm a fucking deputy. Give me a gun. What the fuck? Hi,
Or-
Kitty.
maybe in a state of, you know, because he was suffering from Alzheimer's, maybe he was
suffering from Alzheimer's.
Hang
He was
on, hang on,
mind
hang on.
fuck.
maybe he was suffering a spontaneous outburst and he had reverted to a time in his life when he was playing cops and robbers or cowboys and Indians, and he thought he needed to go bang.
Ladies and gentlemen, this man has a psychology degree. If you were going to trust him for your psychological needs, I would seriously get a second opinion.
I wouldn't trust me with my opinions. But and you're right. As I was reading through this article, he had part of the way he had weaseled his way into this position is that he had donated so much money, and so now they're coming under scrutiny of, can you basically just buy the right to carry a gun and enforce law as you see fit?
Welcome to America, ladies and gentlemen.
See, and I know that there's a notion, or that people are having this discussion that should all law enforcement agents have to wear body cams, and it's not just to make sure that they step
No,
out.
no, 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 no. They don't even work. I can't remember where the fuck this guy was from, but we have an officer that every time something would go wrong, his body cam would shut off. The last time it shut off, killed the teacher.
Well, yeah, that indicates that there's clearly a problem.
How about we, instead of putting the Band-Aid on the problem with body cams, why don't we actually keep up and maintain psychological testing, make sure that, maintain training?
I don't think. I think you're just kind of trying to wash it away because it's
How
an
are you
easy
washing
thing
it away?
Well, you're sitting there saying, well, that's a Band-Aid. It's not necessarily a Band-Aid, giving basically a tool that provides credibility to the officer, in their opinion, if they were acting well within their reach, because I have seen videos of cops acting outstanding and not being goaded by the teenage spitfucks who wander around and
I'm
look
not here to
for
say that
fights.
every cop
And
is,
I'm not trying-
running around killing people. I'm not saying that at all. There's still some very good cops out there. But I am a firm believer in that if you know of the corruption that's going on, I don't give a shit how many fucking people you help. You're still part of the bad seed group because you're allowing this corruption and you're allowing this gang powerful mentality to perpetuate without trying to get your coworkers
But
help, without trying to stop them from literally killing fucking unarmed civilians.
But I think you're kind of getting away from that, just in the simple fact, like, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm saying that you're kind of trying to focus too narrowly on this small little tool that could be used to improve the overall
I think they're fallible,
environment.
and I don't think that they're
Of
going to
course
save
they're
as many lives that need to be, as
It's
many
not-
lives that there needs to be saved.
It's not necessarily about saving lives. I mean, let's face it. If somebody is so psychologically out there that they can justify taking a human life in a situation where the average person would sit there and say there was no need to withdraw your gun and fire 6 rounds into somebody's back,
And that's
premeditated.
another thing. He fired 6 rounds into this guy. 6!
Yes, there was absolutely no reason for
Wouldn't
that.
you think by
But
like round 2 you'd figure out, hey, this ain't my fucking stun gun?
well, and the fact that unless you're carrying an automatic weapon, you pull the trigger on your taser once,
Once. Ooh,
and
that was.
it fires the prongs and zap. So this man, I'm willing to hazard a guess that he clearly knew he was reaching for his gun and knew he had his gun. But back on to my body cams thing is that we know that psychologically altered people who have the mentality of, well, I can justify a killing, they're gonna kill,
Right.
and if we can get if we have, videotaped evidence of them acting outside the law, then yeah, we can hold that against them because that acts within red tape. Also, that prevents false accusations of police brutality. I mean, you can't, if an officer can basically show clear evidence that they did not punch a person in the face, and somebody's sitting there saying, well, while they had me on the ground, they used excessive force, they punched me, blah, blah, blah. The prosecution can come back to them and say, no, they didn't, you're a liar. So that also works in the police's favor. Now, if there's an officer whose machinery routinely malfunctions, that's cause for an investigation, and that's where internal affairs needs to step up. And that's where the real corruption needs to come in and be dealt with. Now, don't get me wrong, I have family in law enforcement, and I understand that there is a great stressor to the job. I don't deify what they do, however, I do have a great respect for what they do because that's how they chose to devote their life and to make a money.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to stop putting them on the pedestals. I mean, at the end of the day, they are also human beings.
Yeah, but you're sitting here saying hold accountability, hold accountability. We have a history here in the United States where cops are on videotape doing band moves and shooting people, and there's no accountability.
So why aren't they
None.
being prosecuted?
Because we have what's called the thin blue line. And above all, a cop will protect another cop here. And evidence will disappear and things will be said to where it diminishes. It's like the Eric Gardner case. The Eric Gardner case happened in Staten Island. It was a band chokehold that killed this man.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of cops and their families in New York City live on Staten Island, so it could beg to argue, was the grand jury really impartial? There should have been a change of venue with that. This guy walked off from a grand jury.
I'm not disagreeing, but let's address, okay, we are human beings, we are very fallible creatures, we're still in relative or in evolutionary terms, we're still really young with the rational parts of our brains that allow us to, sit here and reason and try to come to terms and think out a long-term course of action as to how we could rectify the issue. That's still really new. We haven't perfected that. So how can we address that aspect and still be effective?
Not instantly killing people would be why.
It would. And, in psychological terms, I do know that when adrenaline is high and you're activating the emotional part of your brain, it is very difficult for executive function to kick in. In a high-stress social situation, I mean, that's why it's so easy for people to just stand by in riots or get involved in riots and then afterwards sit there and be so shocked at what they did because they're going, well, that's not me. And, well, we can show that it was you throwing that Molotov cocktail into that car, So
Right here. This chick.
So socially speaking, we know that there are various situations where the human psyche works against itself and we stop being human and go into what Darwin says, where we show bear the stamp of our lowly origins,
So then how do we trust these underdeveloped minds to protect us?
Well, we keep working with them. I mean, I'm not an idealist. I know that it's not an overnight fix. There's clear overhauls within the system that needs to be made. I mean, the American justice system is highly focused on vengeance and punitive measures. Which, don't get me wrong, there's something to be said for somebody paying their time when they have wronged another human being. But at the same time, is there an ability to is there a rehabilitation that can be
In our prison
exercised?
system, I'm sure there is, but it's not to the full
Not
capacity it should be.
not like over in the Scandinavian countries.
No, no, we treat drug addicts like criminals here, and crimes of survival, like, how can I put this? Crimes of survival, like crimes of entitlement, is what I should say. And there really is no kind of full scale rehabilitation. I mean, I don't exactly know the figures, but I know once you have offended, your chance of reoffense is extremely high.
But if we're going to go back to kind of focus on, like how can we, like what sort of measures do need to be addressed in terms of keeping, dangerous weapons, because let's face it, a gun, although a tool, and
You don't want to get into this argument with me.
I'm not about major gun control. I mean, let's face it, I do enjoy guns. However, I'm pro-education.
Thank you. This is why we're friends.
I just don't think that, letting just anybody, donate a bunch of money and then they get to walk around carrying a gun.
No, this is insane.
Like
Especially at 72. What the fuck was thinking this? This is not fucking Mayberry. This is not fucking Andy Griffith. This
isn't John Wayne.
This is real. No, this isn't John Wayne. This isn't dying with 5 pounds of undigested red meat in your fucking colon. This is real fucking life here. And these are real fucking lives. I'm sorry, but Pops wants to go fucking donate money. That's great. Give him a plaque at the end of the year. Oh,
Give him
look what he did
recognition.
for us. Yeah.
Take him on a glorified ride-along.
Exactly. Some shit like that. Don't give this motherfucker a gun. Would you give me a gun if I donated $4 million? No, because we all know that would be a really bad idea. You don't fucking do this shit. Sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen, was Jenn going full New York?
Yay, New York. No, I'm saying, no, would you trust me? Say I won the motherfucking lottery, right? Say I won like $45 million and I donated like, I don't know, $8 million to the fucking NYPD. Do you want me, knowing my crazy ass, running around the fucking streets of New York with a goddamn loaded weapon with minimal training?
No, and nobody should be allowed to hold a firearm with minimal training. I mean, how many...
And I'm 32.
Like, I'm confident in my ability to handle a firearm, but that doesn't mean I believe I should be allowed to walk around with one.
No.
I mean, I trust myself to not resort to, an explosive measure, but at the same time, I at least am aware that the piece of metal there, or the several pieces of metal that comprise of a firearm, are in fact a life-taking or potentially life-taking tool that need to be not feared but respected. And I mean, yeah, it's funny to go on YouTube and watch, gun fails where, the person shoots and then they fall on their ass, or they shoot the gun and then because of the recoil, the nozzle or the nozzle, the muzzle bounces off their forehead and they fire off another round, at 30 degrees into the air. Like, that's just pure recklessness. That's basically sitting there saying, ha ha ha, nobody really needs to take these serious. Don't get me wrong.
Education is the key.
I'm all for, making light of shitty situations, like accidents happen. I get that. But when it comes to life or death, there is a certain seriousness that needs to be addressed with it.
This isn't, like you said, this isn't the fucking Wild West. This isn't like John fucking Wayne. No, this is not Hollywood. They have blanks in Hollywood. When you shoot someone thinking you're so fucking gangster and I'm so fucking ghetto, no, let me tell you from personal experience, when you're out in the fucking hood and the fucking crowd, yeah, I'm a fucking cowboy. When you're out in the fucking hood and those rounds do fire off, people die. Speaking from personal experience.
People die.
They don't fucking respawn. You don't fucking respawn 30 seconds later, come back with a fucking, fully loaded mag and be like, okay, let's come out in this jungle again. No, this shit don't happen. People die.
Well, I don't think the geriatric Lone Ranger here has really ever immersed himself in Call of Duty, but so let's avoid the video games because I don't think that pertains to him.
You never know. He could be a really badass old man and he's like camping and whooping all our asses with like a 25 kill streak and shit. You don't know. You don't know. You don't know who's on the other side of that mic.
I'm a 13-year-old girl, tee hee hee, is actually a 34-year-old man sitting upstairs in his mother's
We
underwear.
all watch Catfish. We all watch Catfish, motherfucker. We all watch Catfish. You don't know.
But now I can't help but wonder, like, what would his call tag be?
Sheriff of Mayberry.
The antique sheriff?
But I'm sorry, no, what the fuck was this? I'm sorry, what was Grandpa, who should have been at home with Grandma and her motherfucking cookies, getting that cookie? What the fuck was he doing out in the streets doing fucking drug raids and all this other shit? And then being in the fucking position to shoot somebody?
What if he needed his taser to, like, kickstart his heart and he reached for his gun and accidentally shot himself? I mean,
You know,
whose
that's
fault
a,
would that have been?
ooh,
Whose fault would that have been?
question.
And what sort of question would be having then? I mean, cop reaches for taser to kickstart life support, shoots self instead. Then all of a
That
sudden
would be a
you got
hilarious headline. I'm such a bitch. I'm sorry, I'm going to hell.
and then everybody's jumping out of the woodwork, screaming about, oh, what was he doing? He shouldn't have been allowed to carry a gun like this. He clearly didn't have the faculties to handle it properly. Blah blah blah.
I can't. And then, this is a rash of shit that we have going now, is specifically cops specifically killing unarmed black men.
Yeah, I couldn't detect in this if this specifically was a
Um,
racially involved
I
shooting
don't
or
think it was
if
as
it was.
racially charged as the other deaths have been. I wouldn't wholeheartedly can turn around and say that this was a racial profiling case, but we do have a problem here.
Oh,
And
that's
I see it as like, this is really fucked up. White men brought black men over here to be slaves, right? You
mhm.
set them free and you're like, no, okay, you're just as much of a man as I am now, and you're a citizen yourself, just to hunt them down in the fucking street. So did anything really change, or are they still, in
I
some
think.
aspects, a slave to authority?
Well, I think the hunting them down in the street is really just consequence of the years upon years upon years of dehumanization of the black man, and that's how they didn't feel bad about slaving them, is they dehumanized them to the point where they saw them as not only lesser human beings, but flat out as animals. So I think shooting them is just incidental. It's just a
Yeah,
thing
but I
that,
mean, hundreds of years now.
yeah,
Hundreds of
it's,
years.
well, there's still quite a point of dogmatic, we don't need the black man, you know.
Should take a stroll through the South and see how well that works, see how apparent that is. But, it also comes down to the level of economic inequality.
Well, then there's institutional racism where, the primary the primary skin color not found in a lot of ghetto areas is white. I mean, you don't find as many white people. They tend to be in more suburban or higher up areas. Not to say that, they're not there. There are a few there. However, the predominant population that is so un
Disadvantaged
thank you, disadvantaged
is
is
black.
black, is Hispanic, is everybody
And
who
I'm
isn't
I'm gonna
white.
go on the record right now. White privilege absolutely does exist in the United States. It absolutely does exist. I'm white. I grew up in the hood.
Yeah.
I grew up the only white girl in the fucking hood. And while it may have disadvantaged me in some ways locally, I knew that I wasn't the one being stared at in stores. And I knew that statistically, I had a better shot of making it out of there and doing something with my life than my peers, simply on the basis of skin color,
hmm
which blew my mind because some of these kids were so fucking more talented than I was. I mean, unbelievable musicians, unbelievable artists, unbelievable writers, and they had to work twice as hard simply for being black. And I was raised in a household that I shouldn't say I don't see color, because I do. Obviously, everybody does see color, and to me, saying you don't see color means that you're not willing to see the struggles of that race. You're kind of just going to whitewash it, and to me, that's wrong. But I grew up in a house where it didn't matter what you looked like, as long as you weren't an asshole, we're cool. And everyone was recognized for their talents and abilities. So it still boggles me how I could be a mediocre singer, and because I'm considered white and more marketable, I'd be more successful, to come up against some of these girls that I went to high school with that were unbelievable.
Yeah.
But maybe the label doesn't want to go with a black girl at that point.
And that is absolutely unfortunate because that kind of that just keeps this cycle going and really denigrates somebody based on talent. But here's something else that I think is driving that issue, and why is a white person more marketable?
Good question. European influence.
Which is ironic given how much Europeans gobble up American pop culture.
Well, no, I mean European influence by ancestry and blah, 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 all that crap.
Well, here's something that I am aware of, and something in the human psyche that does kind of exacerbate the comfort levels, say, of people around various skin colors, is that in the first 2-3 years of life, the appearance of the people around an infant, and one of the easiest things to denote or notice about appearance is skin color. So people grow this comfort level within their own ethnicity if that's who they're around.
Familiarity. Mm-hmm.
Exactly, it's a concept of familiarity. And while there are some people who they might acknowledge that there are racial discriminations, but will genuinely take somebody for their merits as opposed to their skin color, there is a slight alteration to the human psyche that says, I grew up with white people, I know white people, I trust white people. I grew up in a black neighborhood, I trust black people, And I'm not saying that's a foundation of racism, I'm just saying that...
No, I'm always making the joke that if I'm around too many white people, I get nervous that they're going to call the cops. And like, if I have to, and I'll say it now, if I have to go to these, and I so don't want to sound so racist, but these white suburban soccer mom, like, parties or get-togethers, I feel completely, like, weird. Like, I have to be somebody that I'm not. But if you put me back in the fucking hood, I'm great. I'm like, the fuck, I'm me, and I feel like I don't have to put on an act about it. It's very odd.
Well, I think we've about beat that topic to death.
Yeah.
So let's move on. So I said I had a discussion question here, and I kind of broached you with this one like a month ago. I don't know if you've dedicated any of your thought to it.
Oh,
but,
you know how my mind works, which means no.
I will preface this. I'll kind of lead into it with a little bit of an explanation as to why this thought popped into my head. So, as I stated in the first episode, I am dating a girl who is a firm believer. She's a firm theist.
Womp womp. Sorry.
And this is a topic that maybe we'll go into later on as things progress, and I actually have something worthwhile to report on the whole being an atheist in a theistic culture transpires. But she likes to spend a lot of time on social media, and she found a video on Ellen. It was a magician, and I love watching magic. For me, it is a wonderful to just sit there and look at the ways my brain gets tricked into seeing something that's not actually there. I mean, they're the various manipulations and plays off of my own neurology while I see these, illusions going on. That blows my mind. And, I love to know how it's done. And after my girlfriend had tagged me, and I said, yeah, and, I kind of noticed a couple of different things that he had done with this trick here. And I explained a few of them to her, and she looks at me and she goes, can't you just enjoy the whimsy of it? And I'm sitting there and I'm going, but to me, the whimsy of it is figuring out what they did and how my brain warped it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, Jen, what I'm asking here is what in life, caters to your sense of whimsy? What satisfies your need for wonder and awe? I actually had to write down this
Knowledge.
question.
I'm like you, I have to figure out how everything works. And I'm gonna sound like a totally crazy bitch, and this is why I'm single. Knowledge and control. I like having the knowledge to control situations in my life so that I'm not surprised. So I will completely immerse myself in something to know everything about it so that there's no left fields coming at me. But my whimsy is knowledge. I'm like you, I have this analytical mind. So if something doesn't seem right, I'm like, okay, why doesn't it seem right? Or why does it seem magical? And now I have to research this. And I will research it to death. To death. Until I think it makes sense. And this way, if the situation comes to me, I'm like, oh, I know how to control this. This is why I'm single. Because it can come off as slightly obsessive and extremely controlling. This is why I don't date.
See, I love to step outside and take a look at the stars and sit there and realize that, millions of years has passed since the light that I'm seeing left those stars. And for me, that's kind of a very humbling thing. That's a holy shit, I am so utterly insignificant here.
I know. Isn't that like an amazing feeling, though?
I am fascinated by the workings of the human mind. I mean, I don't completely understand it, and that's great because I can sit there and there's always something new to learn. There's always some other experience. When I think about the human experience, I'm also forced to sit here and look at my cats because each one of them has a unique personality.
Keith's cats are awesome.
Neither of them are the same. They all have their different means of getting attention. They all have their different times when they want attention. They all have the different times when they are willing to have affection forced upon them. Currently, there is the smallest of the three. He's actually the alpha because he's the only male. He's currently curled up on my lap. Oh, never mind. No, he's not.
You know they don't have to be males to be alphas, right? Females
No,
can be alphas
but
too.
he's taken on the alpha role.
Oh, okay.
It's just the way it is. And it's you sit there and I sit there and I wonder, what's going on inside your head? What processes are you having that's, driving you to decide that you're not comfortable laying in that position in that spot? Why did you have to get up and move a foot and a half away? What drives made you that? And I mean, I know that's really kind of thinking way too much about just literally this simplest of things, but that's about the natural world and the way it operates in its sheerly chaotic manner. It's what isn't to be in awe and wonder and have your mind blown about that? Why isn't it enough to sit there and look at the fact that we live so many more years than our ancestors were able to? I mean, why does there need
Medicine.
to be why does there need why does there need to be some sense of mystery going on? Why can't the sense of mystery compel us to go, well, what's causing that? Why is that? What purpose does that serve? And
Hmm. That's something to think about.
it is. I mean, why just try to chalk it up to something not natural and just leave it at that and be satiated by that? To me, that's easy. That makes no sense.
Maybe that's the whole reason for the mysteries. That's not supposed to make sense.
Well, I mean, based on my worldview, which is subject to rampant change, is, there is a chaotic sense to everything. So there's a great deal to understand and a great deal of mystery to find. I mean, we're constantly finding new species everywhere. I mean, we've barely scratched the surface of our own planet. And yet we're sitting here trying to figure out where the universe came from when we can't even verify various aspects of our planet. We still can't even explore the depths of our planet properly.
Mm.
I mean, is it easier to get to the moon than it is to get to the bottom of the ocean? And I do mean like the bottom of like the Laurentian Abyss or the Marianas
I
Trench.
think we've already answered that, and that question was yes. So that
Maybe.
question. Look, you actually see one of my kitties.
I like your pussy.
Thank God for editing.
Oh, I know.
And now for something completely different.
I have a discussion topic.
All right.
May December romances, huge age gaps and difference. Yeah, I think that sounded right. Huge differences in age. And I'm talking between adults. I'm not talking like 15 and 30. I'm talking like
Okay.
35 and 23. Pull that out of my ass.
Yeah, totally right out of your ass. There's no reason to ask that at all. Consenting adults. I mean, what are the motives behind it? I mean, oh God, here I go again. Is the youngest person in that relationship strictly for the benefits of what the other person has? Is there a power relationship at play there?
Well, isn't there a power relationship in every relationship?
Yeah, there's always a power relationship, and I do mean in the sense that it could hinder the person who's not in power from going anywhere. As in, is it like via work or a student teacher or, along those lines? Or is it like some girl who's just marrying an older guy because he's got money and she wants to get so ingrained into his life that she can divorce him and take half his cash?
God, I so shouldn't went that route.
I know. I really wish I had gone the sugar daddy route.
What sugar daddy? What money do you have to be giving fucking sugar daddy?
No, I wish I had gone the sugar daddy route and found
Okay.
myself a sugar daddy or sugar mama. I don't care.
I thought about it because it's very easy to do in New York. It's so easy to do to be a sugar baby in New York.
Yeah, not so
But
much.
do you think that? Do you have any judgment on May December romances, and do you think that they could actually work?
I never heard the term May December romance.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
you don't watch enough Maury.
Oh, for the love of no, I don't.
Come on, I gotta visit Canada. We'll watch Steve Wilkos and we'll watch Maury. Watch Judge Judy and
I have Johnny walking me home. That kills enough of my brain cells. Thank you.
okay, I'm gonna put it out there. I have a thing for younger guys, and I mean younger in anywhere from 4 years to 12 years. I'm 32, so that would be 20 to 28. I just find myself more attracted to them, even though it never works out for me.
I think you're just addicted to the power of the relationship you'd have.
No, because none of them actually really give me any power in this.
Well, it's consenting adults. Why not? I mean, so long as it
Wait,
is
I'm curious as to why you think I have a power issue.
because I've known you for like a year.
It's not a power issue I don't think I have a power issue.
Or you like the energy of a young man. I don't know.
Yeah, the energy is definitely pretty fucking awesome.
I don't know. Are you like Madonna and try to siphon off the life force of younger pop stars?
I think that's what I'm trying to do. That's probably why I look so young. Harry Styles, I'm coming for you.
Here we go again.
Fuck you. He's a
Good.
gorgeous man. He's a gorgeous man.
He's not really a man, but alright.
I've seen the bulge in that pants. He is all man, baby. Okay.
You are aware of what a codpiece is, right?
No.
Oh, it's just basically something they can put in there to make it look bigger.
No,
Underwear
that's
models use them all the time.
I could see that boy's pants. That's tight enough.
Underwear models use the same tricks. Ha! That's a middle finger I'm getting from Jen right there.
Could you just let me live my fantasy, please? Thank you.
Have you not established I am the dream killer?
He's such a dick, ladies and gentlemen. He's such an asshole. But he's my little asshole, and I guess I'm stuck on him now.
Okay.
And I'm thinking maybe, for those of you who don't know, I'm currently going through a divorce. I think it's my divorce that drives me to younger men.
It's quite possible. I'm not a licensed therapist, so I can't dissect it.
Oh, he will. Ladies and gentlemen, once we're done with this podcast, he's going to rip that shit apart, let me tell you. He's a liar. He's a liar.
Okay, Jen. Why don't you leave us with this week's shit Jen's mom says?
Jen's mom. Like I said earlier, I am going through a divorce, which I'm hoping will be final here soon. And I was discussing with my mother whether or not I wanted to take my maiden name or wanted to take her maiden name. I've since decided to take my maiden name. My mother looks me dead in the face and says, I don't care if you call yourself Jennifer Blowjobs. It's your name. You have to live with it. So I am now affectionately known as Jennifer Blowjobs.
So there we have it. Whenever she gets around to actually posting on the website, Jennifer will now be posting as Jennifer Blowjobs.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Fuck you all.
No, I'm gonna go in and start editing info now. You're actually gonna have to make posts every now and then too now.
No, that's it. No. No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
All right. Well, that's about our time for the night. So thanks for listening.
Thank you.
And have a great evening.
Have a lovely evening. God, that sounded so fake. Fuck you fuckers. Have a good night.
The Not Another Atheist podcast experience is run by Jenn and Keith. If you wish to contact the show, you may email them at nehehp@gmail.com.
I am now affectionately known as Jennifer Blowjob.
You were right.